Then it's Earth Day. It's an opportune time to provide an update on efforts to reduce air pollution in overburdened communities in Washington. A portion of funding from Washington's Climate Commitment Act, the CCA, and the reason why prices are so high at the pump here in Washington, at least a large part of the reason. Um, that money is used for grants that go to advocates in communities for projects to improve health outcomes related to pollution. But according to a new report from Washington Policy Center's Vice President for Research, Todd Myers, the vast majority of projects funded with CCA money in 2025 did absolutely nothing to reduce pollution. In fact, according to Myers, only one of the 21 projects funded with more than $8.5 million in taxpayer funded CCA dollars did anything to reduce pollution. It's pretty shocking. The report, there's a little bit of pushback coming in late today from the State Department of Ecology. So we will get into all of that. Time to provide an update on efforts to reduce air pollution, especially in overburdened communities in our state. So, a portion of funding from Washington's Climate Commitment Act, the CCA, is used for grants that are awarded to advocates and communities for projects to improve health outcomes. Some of these communities where air pollution is worse, you've got, lower income folks, higher rates of asthma and other issues that could be related to pollutants in the air. So part of the CCA money is awarded to these folks who apply for these grants and receive taxpayer subsidies. But according to a report from Washington Policy Center's Vice President for Research, Todd Myers, the vast majority of projects that were funded with CCA money in 2025 did absolutely nothing to reduce pollution.
So, one of the main arguments for the Climate Commitment Act, the CO2 tax, is that it wouldn't just go to fight climate change, that it would also improve air quality, especially in what they call overburdened communities. And there's a number of communities that they've identified. And so they said in the original law, there was $20 million a biennium that was dedicated toward grants that improved air quality in these communities. So I thought I would look at what those projects were actually funded and did they improve air quality. And so last year, about $8.5 million was granted to a variety of programs that were all under the heading of improving air quality in disadvantaged and overburdened communities. And what I found is that all but one of them, there were 21 projects, all but one of them either did nothing to reduce air pollution in those communities, or did something that is sort of nebulous and very small impact. In the worst examples, there were projects that were simply about community outreach. Do a community outreach program. So, for example, the Urban League of Seattle got $411,000 only for community outreach. And in their own budget that they sent along, 80% of the money went to their staff and 20% of the money went to overhead. Another one that was just community outreach was from the Somali Independent Business Alliance. They got $170,000, again, just to do community outreach. Neither of those programs actually improved air quality in their communities for the people that they say are suffering with asthma and other problems. It was just all public meetings. And you see that again and again in these programs, which is that special interest groups are paid to do, quote, outreach, and no improvement in air quality actually occurs.
I did reach out to the Seattle Urban League and also the Somali Business Alliance, two of the recipients, for comment, but did not receive a response. I am anticipating a formal response from the Washington Department of Ecology before my article publishes later today. So that will be included in the published article. But an initial conversation with a communications member in the Office of the Department of Ecology suggested that they are going to refute Todd Myers' report and say that he got his numbers wrong, that he maybe put in some of the numbers from applicants who didn't necessarily receive as much as he is saying that they did. Myers has a response to that, basically says he took all of the information off of grant recipients right off of the Department of Ecology's website, information that he was able to obtain, and spoke, he says, to many of those recipients himself to find out, "What'd you do with the money?" And many, as you just heard in that cut from that interview with Todd Myers, suggested that really they just ran education campaigns, maybe did a little bit of community outreach, but zero tangible result impacting, how climate goals, if you will. He told me, Todd Myers said that the real problem he believes is the way that this entire program from ecology is basically sold to would be grant recipients.
A big part of this, the problem is the way the state wrote the grant. The state said that money could be used for community outreach. So, not surprisingly, special interests are going, well, if we can just use the money for community outreach, give us the money, we'll take our cut for staff and overhead, we'll do some, community outreach and call it good. And of course, the state never goes back to see, did these things actually work? There was another project that was supposed to replace 20 wood burning stoves. Wood burning stoves are a source of air pollution, especially in Pierce and South King County, because they put up smoke and other things like that that can cause problems. But when I asked this project, okay, how many wood burning stoves did you actually remove? They said 0, because people didn't want to give them up. So instead, they just wrote an online guide. So even projects that are supposed to do something good, I would say that removing wood burning stoves or replacing them is a good strategy, could pay off in terms of improved air quality. Even projects like that ended up doing nothing. But is the state going to go back and check? Are they going to go back and claw back that money so that it's used to actually effectively reduce particulate matter? No, absolutely not.
So Myers said in the future, the state should, in his opinion, require all projects provide reasonable estimates. What did you really improve so far as air quality goes? How can we measure that? And he says you need to have accountability for projects such that if they fail to deliver, like you don't do any good for your overburdened community, but we, gave you a $500,000, you should pay that money back to ecology so they can, in fact, pay that grant out or award that grant to somebody who's actually going to make a tangible difference in air quality. So we'll see. Again, that article will be published on our Center Square Washington page before the end of Wednesday. So that is it for today's episode, this Earth Day episode of Washington in Focus Daily. I encourage you to check out our Center Square Washington page for these stories and more. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.